Walton. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Talking Timepieces, where we talk about watch collecting and horology. Today, I'm at the Marathon booth with Mitchell Wein. He is the president of Marathon, who is a company well known for their tactical watches. Isn't that right, Mitchell? I'm glad you had the time to chat.
Yeah, we're known as the tool watch. I'm glad you understand what tactical means. You know?
There you go. Well, I am a vet.
We're not a jewelry watch. We're a tool watch.
Well, that's the whole thing. A lot of people with that problem with luxury versus premium and the like, because you can have a premium watch that's not for luxury. It's for functionality.
Right. It has to take a beating. It has to really absorb shock and be with the warfighter on his side,
or her side. Never know nowadays.
No, it's true.
Now, how did the company wind up being so strong in military pieces?
I think we became strong because my father and grandfather always believed in the saying, if you sell a watch to someone, you're married to them, so you better make sure that watch is good quality.
There you go. And military's life and death, so you want the best
life and death. People bought watches. The government bought watches. They bought special clock systems from us for aircraft carriers, and they were supposed to be replaced every 5 years, but 20 years, 25 years, they're still functioning. And same thing with our watches.
Well, that's a good and a bad problem to have, right?
Well, it's good because you know what? It's better for the environment that you make something that lasts than that is disposable.
That's an excellent point. So now, you have some pieces in your hands. You were talking a little bit about the regular tactical piece that the company is known for. You've got some other pieces that are branching out into other areas.
Yes.
But the key there is that Marathon is not just a military watch manufacturer. You're not just, you're also being used by adventurers, you're being used by agriculturalists, you're being used by
anybody who needs a watch that's accurate and will keep it together until the time for years. Accuracy is very important, and also quality is very important. So there are three different types of watches basically that we do. One is the field watch. The field watch is this watch, and the strap is not what we issue to governments with. This is called a death stand strap, but we issue this watch with a normal 10-inch or 12-inch strap, depending on where it's going to be worn. So it's either going to be worn on your wrist, or perhaps it's being worn on the outside of a uniform. And this watch is as specified by original specs from the 1970s and moved into the 80s with the 46374 military spec. And this is what many governments have purchased over the years. It's been dependable. It's improved in quality over the years. We made major improvements. In the military, you have different marks. So you have a mark for each generation. So this watch has gone through 4 generations.
So this is the Mark IV.
It's the Mark IV.
Very nice. And I noticed it's tritium loomed.
It's tritium gas loomed with tritium tubes. The tritium originates from Ontario Power Generation in Canada, in Ontario, where we are. And it's nice to know that we're able to make use of this material, send it to Switzerland, put it into tubes, and put it on watches that are going to help many people.
Very cool.
So we're very proud about that.
I can imagine. So what's the second type of piece you have handy?
Okay, so the second type of piece that we have handy came out in the 1980s when my father was asked by Kelly Air Force Base to produce an electric navigation watch. Who studied the project and who analyzed it was a man called Jean-Maurice Huguenin, who is our senior watchmaker right now in Le Chaux-de-Fonds. And the hard thing about it was making a movement that was electric that would keep in power for at least a year and a half. And we were able to accomplish that by working with a factory called Harley. And Harley was one of the first quartz manufacturers of movements. And it was called the Harley 404 in those days, and I remember that. And that was eventually bought over by Ronda. But right now we use our ETA FO6 movements, and in the steel version as well as the composite, which is fiber shell.
Right. Now I noticed,
which makes it light.
That, well, and every pound counts, especially when you're shipping to a war zone.
Yes, it does.
Now, I do notice that you've got the asymmetrical case to provide the crown guard that Marathon is famous for, that the bulge on this side, as it were. What inspired that as opposed to regular crown guards?
That was given, outside of the design of the case was given to us by the U.S. government.
So this is a government design case?
This is a government design case. What we did was we developed a turning bezel that was exactly 26 inch ounces. I think it was plus or minus 5 inch ounces for the torque. So it's bidirectional. You could use this turning bezel actually as second time zone, but you could also use it as a timer. So in the old aircraft carriers, not aircraft carriers, like the Hercules jets,
the transport C-130s and the like.
C-130s, the gas tanks, the fuel tanks were in the wings. And so as you use fuel in one wing, it puts pressure on keeping the plane even. So there was always an aviator in the airplane that would make sure, if it was mechanical, to switch off one tank and put on the other.
So they balance out.
So they balance out. And that was really what they were interested in those days. Also, you want to know home time over rack time, where your mission would be. And that's where we became very famous, was the First and Second Persian Gulf Wars, and many pilots were issued these watches. And we don't make much margin selling to government, which is important because it's taxpayers' money at work, and we are taxpayers as well. And I believe that, you know, you have to act the way you want to. You have to treat someone the way you want to be treated. And I wouldn't want someone wasting my money, and I'm certainly not going to waste my government's money or someone else's government's money, because it's the taxpayers.
This is true, but then the nice thing about a military order, at least the volumes are high enough that the smaller margins are okay.
Well, as my dad said, small margins are okay because the government you can rely on as being trustworthy. And if they don't have the money, they probably could print it. But I remember we used to open up, now we get money transferred to us, of course. But we used to open up checks from the U.S. Treasury, you know, in the office. Because everything was by mail.
Checks. Yeah,
those checks, yeah. And what we're really known for recently, the past 30 years, was my project. I didn't know we'd become famous on it. I knew we would. I thought maybe we'd become famous because my dad said the watch was ugly, and so did Mr. Dreyfus, our director in Switzerland, but because it was so big. But the reason why it's so big is to count on the 300 meters in water resistance. And
that bezel looks really grippy too.
Well, the bezel was designed by me and some people in the Canadian government. They didn't like the original design of our case, which was an off-the-market case. It was off-the-shelf case from a case manufacturer in Switzerland. And the tooling broke, so I decided, okay, what's wrong with it? I went to visit my friend Andrew out east, had a few beers, spent some time with some buddies of his, and I asked them, what don't you like about it, about our dive watch? And it was all about the turning bezel, because you're wearing gloves, it's cold out. A fishing trawler from Portugal just flipped over in the Atlantic. We have to rescue these guys off lifeboats, and you can't even you can't grip your turning bezel, so you don't know. Time sensitive. you have to be able to get into gear fast, and this allows you to operate the right way.
Very cool, even with heavy gloves and the like.
Even with heavy gloves, we have a 3-piece strap system. When we ship these to different governments, we don't know how big the warfighter is going to be. They may have a 9-inch wrist or a 6-inch wrist. So we give a 3-piece strap system. We thought of everything. We give a 3-piece strap system. So if you're 8-inch, it comes with this strap naturally, but if you have a 9-inch wrist, you're going to want a bigger strap. So we have an extra piece here that you could switch out.
So you have a longer tang side.
Yeah, and listen, sometimes you get an order for 30 watches or 20 watches to, let's say, Kentucky or Georgia or Fort Bliss, and what's happening is, who knows? Some guys could be a 7-inch wrist, some guys could be a 9 or 10-inch wrist. So, they don't have to return it. They don't have to say, I can't wear this watch, it's too small, or I can't wear this watch, it's too big. It's perfect for everybody.
Very cool.
And it fits every soldier. So
what's next for Marathon?
What's next for Marathon? We're looking, because we're very much associated with the war industries, we're looking at different coatings and different materials that would be stronger and
more
lighter. More corrosion resistant. We are working with certain departments about what timing is needed. We have from the 1960s, we used to supply the government with various watches with minute timers, and we're looking to develop movements that will actually help people do their job better. Because what are we doing? We're solving people's problems.
Solving problems. Very cool. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me at this very busy event. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you coming all the way here. It was really nice.
Pleasure's mine.
Thank you.